I think Brooke's approach to teaching science is provide students with this like discrepant event or this thing that they have an idea or like they think they know how it works, and then asking some like specific questions and giving some kids some hands-on time to engage with the materials and like play around with the overall like the event that they saw and try to internalize like why does this work or why is this the way it is, and then by having students share their own experiences or share their own information as a class, you kind of come to this conclusion or this like big takeaway to kind of that explains the event and like ties into things that we've done earlier in the unit and also kind of preview things that are to come. And so at the end of a lesson, they have this like big takeaway, and then tomorrow's discrepant event, they'll apply what they learned yesterday and then think about what do they already know to kind of like connect these things together to keep moving forward and making sure that science is this incremental process where it's building upon each other to make sure at the end like they have this solid understanding of why things work the way they work.
I think Brooke's approach to teaching science is how I would want my own kids to see the world. I think we are showing kids how to question and showing kids how to answer their own questions. It is so cool to see them wrestle with ideas that they had a preconceived notion about, and then really taking the time to make sure that we address those misconceptions that they have, and then make it so that their current concepts and conceptual understandings are ones that we can build on.
Brooke's approach to teaching science is really unique. Just saying the vocabulary words or just spitting back and repeating information is not enough to convey understanding. We're really looking for students to have a visual of what's going on, be able to relate it to their real life experience, and we try to bring in as many of those real life demos and labs and experiences as possible so students contextualize what they are learning. At Brooke, we focus on really making sure that students are not just memorizing, because anyone can do that, but actually have a picture so that it's sticky for longer than just the day of the lesson.
It's really heavily based on drawing models and modeling the phenomena that we see in the real world. So for this lesson, it was clouds. And I really enjoy that model of science education because it really forces kids to make the science knowledge and the science content their own by having them model it in a way that makes sense to them.
Brooke does a great job of hitting all of the science practices. So we get them to ask good questions, we get them to make models, critique models, which is something I hadn't done in the past, but I've been doing a lot this year. So we'll build a model, but then we'll say, what is good about this? What could be improved? What is missing from this model? They'll do experiments, and they'll do a lot of writing, a lot of reading in order to gain evidence, and then having debates. And all of these different approaches, I think, lead to a very well-rounded science curriculum.
Brooke's approach to teaching science is very different from what I have experienced in the past. I think science, to me, before had been about a lot of memorization and thinking about processes as distinct from one another. I feel like Brooke's approach to teaching science is more in focusing on the interconnections between things, and teaching students to ask questions and really want to know the answers to those questions, and then work together and do the mental hard work of really thinking about what the answers could possibly be to those questions. And I'm here as a resource, but really we want kids to be able to generate their own ideas, and really think about the underlying connections between everything. We focus a lot on recurring themes in science class. And the theme, for example, of equilibrium is something that has come up in previous years for students. It also comes up a lot in the weather unit. All the processes that are currently constantly trying to reach equilibrium in the atmosphere, in your body, in a convection cycle. And so I think that the emphasis at Brooke is really on making connections between content rather than understanding content as separate, self-contained units.
I think that Brooke's approach to teaching science is all about keeping the wonder alive. I think that science in and of itself is just like the study of like, why do cool things happen? Like you wake up and like, why is the sky blue? Why does water move the way it moves? Why is fire X, Y, and Z? And I think that sometimes we make it really, really boring and we take like the fun out of it. And I think at Brooke's approach is like, let's just throw this weird thing at them. Let's throw this like really strange scenario at them, and let's see how they pick it apart. And like as they're picking it apart, we're like, oh, what you're talking about, this is this word. What you're discussing, this is what the scientists talked about in 1619 or something like that. And the kids are like really blown away.